looking at 2 Samuel chapter 13. Now, let me tell you, this is a doozy. This is one of those chapters that I find it interesting that there's a lot of things that we don't like to discuss and talk about, but the Bible, by the Spirit of God, brings out things that are in the lives of human beings and doesn't hide stuff. The Bible is one of the most blatant books. If anybody was to ever try to write a full aspect about what's going on in the Bible, some of it would be very beautiful. And other parts of it would be very hard to watch and to do and to comprehend. And we're at one of those chapters today where there's a lot of problems here. Um, we're looking at, once again, the problems in David's life. And if you remember, this is coming after David had his affair with Bathsheba. And he had Uriah, Bathsheba's husband, killed, trying to hide the affair because after the affair, Bathsheba turned up pregnant. And he thought he got away with it. Then we saw in the next chapter that God sent Nathan the prophet to David to let him know, I saw what you did. You think you can hide this from God Almighty? You can't. And he let him know that the sword will never leave your house. He said, but I will forgive you. The beautiful thing about this is that even if you were to go to Psalms 51, you would see David's lament and his cry and asking God for forgiveness. And David was brokenhearted. But God told him that you are going to have a consequence. The scriptures tells us that whatsoever a man sow,
that shall he also reap.
That also shall he reap. And so David's forgiveness was complete. God did not hold it against him from a spiritual context, but there were natural consequences. Now, keep in mind, one of the things that happened was that God told David that the son that you impregnated Uriah's wife with is going to die. And we went through that, and we saw how David tried to come to God and ask for perhaps God will show mercy. And God didn't. God said what I said was going to happen. All right. And so you have this situation now where it's moving on. Time is going on. But keep in mind that when God pointed this out to David, God made this statement to David: you have given opportunity for the enemies to blaspheme. And we wonder sometimes, what does that mean? And a lot of times we don't know, and I'm not going to tell you that this is the answer, but I think that it's worth considering that when David did this, what opportunities did the enemy have to enter into David's life? Not just his life, but the life of his family, his children, other ones, his nieces and nephews. And we're going to see that all of these people in this story are some way, somehow related to David. And so when we think about the wrong that we do, especially when we do wrong and then we do another wrong to try to fix that wrong, and then we try to fix it, and then we think we gotten away with it, and then God has to confront us before we repent. But then we do repent. The mercy of God is amazing.
Yes, it is.
It is
Amen.
amazing what God will forgive if you come to Him.
Yes, Lord.
But the consequences of sin is what? Is death.
Yeah.
The child that Bathsheba bore to David during because of their adulterous relationship, what happened to the child? It died. And the sad thing is, the death is not completed. You do one sin and you think, okay, I'm gonna, okay, this should be it. I have one incident, and now that incident should be the payment for that. When you plant 1 grain of corn, how many grains come out on that stalk? A whole lot, because you get what? Not just 1 grain, you get a whole bunch of ears, and each one of those ears of corn have its own grain. And so this is what happens a lot when we plant sin. And unless we get God's grace, we get God's favor, we get God's mercy, we Lord, I know I deserve. And in this particular situation, David's spiritual connection to God was not broken. But the natural aspect, there was sin planted, and man is coming up. This crop that he planted is going to show up, and we're going to see some of the beginnings of it here. And this ain't the end of it. when we go through this chapter, you're going to be like, wow, okay, that was a mighty blow to have to pay for. This ain't the end. There's a lot more. All right. That was a pretty long preliminary. Let's go ahead and get into the reading here, and we'll get to see the story yourself. Let's take a listen. 2 Samuel chapter 13.
Chapter 13. And it came to pass after this, that Absalom the son of David had a fair sister, whose name was Tamar, and Amnon the son of David loved her. And Amnon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin. And Amnon thought it hard for him to do anything to her. But Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother. And Jonadab was a very subtle man. And he said unto him,
Why art thou, being the king's son, lean from day to day? Wilt thou not tell me?
And Amnon said unto him,
I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister.
And Jonadab said unto him,
Lay thee down on thy bed, and make thyself sick. And when thy father cometh to see thee, say unto him, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar come, and give me meat, and dress the meat in my sight, that I may see it, and eat it at her hand.
So Amnon lay down and made himself sick. And when the king was come to see him, Amnon said unto the king,
I pray thee, let Tamar my sister come, and make me a couple of cakes in my sight, that I may eat at her hand.
Then David sent home to Tamar, saying,
Go now to thy brother Amnon's house, and dress him meat.
So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, and he was laid down. And she took flour and kneaded it, and made cakes in his sight, and did bake the cakes. And she took a pan, and poured them out before him. But he refused to eat. And Amnon said,
Have out all men from me.
And they went out, every man from him. And Amnon said unto Tamar,
Bring the meat into the chamber, that I may eat of thine hand.
And Tamar took the cakes which she had made, and brought them into the chamber of Amnon her brother. And when she had brought them unto him to eat, he took hold of her, and said unto her,
Come, lie with me, my sister.
And she answered him,
Nay, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. Do not thou this folly. And I, whither shall I cause my shame to go? And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Now therefore, I pray thee, speak unto the king, for he will not withhold me from thee.
Howbeit he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than she, forced her, and lay with her. Then Amnon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her. And Amnon said unto her,
Arise, be gone.
And she said unto him,
There is no cause. This evil in sending me away is greater than the other that thou didst unto me.
But he would not hearken unto her. Then he called his servant that ministered unto him, and said,
Put now this woman out from me, and bolt the door after her.
And she had a garment of divers colors upon her, for with such robes were the king's daughters that were virgins apparelled. Then his servant brought her out, and bolted the door after her. And Tamar put ashes on her head, and rent her garment of divers colors that was on her, and laid her hand on her head, and went on crying. And Absalom her brother said unto her,
Hath Amnon thy brother been with thee? But hold now thy peace, my sister. He is thy brother, regard not this thing.
So Tamar remained desolate in her brother Absalom's house. But when King David heard of all these things, he was very wroth. And Absalom spake unto his brother Amnon neither good nor bad. For Absalom hated Amnon, because he had forced his sister Tamar. And it came to pass after 2 full years that Absalom had sheep shearers in Baal Hazor, which is beside Ephraim. And Absalom invited all the king's sons. And Absalom came to the king, and said,
Behold now, thy servant hath sheep shearers. Let the king, I beseech thee, and his servants go with thy servant.
And the king said to Absalom,
Nay, my son, let us not all now go, lest we be chargeable unto thee.
And he pressed him. Howbeit he would not go, but blessed him. Then said Absalom,
If not, I pray thee, let my brother Amnon go with us.
And the king said unto him,
Why should he go with thee?
But Absalom pressed him, that he let Amnon and all the king's sons go with him. Now Absalom had commanded his servants, saying,
Mark ye now, when Amnon's heart is merry with wine, and when I say unto you, smite Amnon, then kill him, fear not. Have not I commanded you? Be courageous and be valiant.
And the servants of Absalom did unto Amnon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, and every man gat him up upon his mule and fled. And it came to pass, while they were in the way, that tidings came to David, saying,
Absalom hath slain all the king's sons, and there is not one of them left.
Then the king arose, and tare his garments, and lay on the earth, and all his servants stood by with their clothes rent. And Jonadab, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, answered, and said,
Let not my lord suppose that they have slain all the young men, the king's sons, for Amnon only is dead. For by the appointment of Absalom, this hath been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. Now therefore, let not my lord the king take the thing to his heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead, for Amnon only is dead.
But Absalom fled, and the young man that kept the watch lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there came much people by the way of the hillside behind him. And Jonadab said unto the king,
Behold, the king's sons come. As thy servant said, so it is.
And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of speaking, that behold, the king's sons came, and lifted up their voice, and wept. And the king also and all his servants wept very sore. But Absalom fled, and went to Talmai, the son of Ammihud, king of Geshur. And David mourned for his son every day. So Absalom fled, and went to Geshur, and was there 3 years. And the soul of King David longed to go forth unto Absalom, for he was comforted concerning Amnon, seeing he was dead.
All right. Boy, what a tangle we web, right? This is pretty sad. But what we want to look at this, what do we see here? We see the planting, the growing, the development, and the fruit of sin. We wonder sometimes why does stuff happen like this? And like the prophet Nathan told to David, you give opportunity for your enemies to blaspheme. Oftentimes we think that our enemy, well, people are going to laugh at you or tease you. You may have neighbors or family members and yes, that's part of it. But I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. The greater opportunity that is given is in the spiritual realm, where you have fallen angels and demons and all of that part of the principality and powers. Like Paul said, we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in evil places. And so, like the Spirit of God said through the prophet Nathan, you give an opportunity for them. And so when David's sin happened, in the spiritual realm, they're like, oh, we got a chance. We got something we can hold on to. The Bible tells us that we should give no place to the devil. And when you do things like this, what happens is the devil feels it has a place. I have a right to go and do this. This person has invited me in. It's one of the things that we definitely always tell people, don't get involved in these little seances and all this different stuff that, people do trying to contact spiritual realms and so forth and so on. Stay away from that, because you don't want to open a door that you have no control over. And you don't want to get involved in that kind of stuff. The only spiritual realm you want to get into is the realm opened by Jesus. The Bible says if you come in any other way, you are a thief and a robber. Now, keep in mind, the Bible does say if you come in any other way, that means there are other ways you can come in. But if you choose those ways, you're like a thief and a robber. And what happens to thief and robbers? They get arrested, beat up, some of them get killed. And we don't want to give that opportunity. Now, we're looking at the family of David. Let's back up a little bit. Suppose God wanted to use the Holy Spirit to write a story to bring forth the lessons of how God works. But instead of using David's family, he used your family. How much different would the story be? Because guess what? We all got some dirt. If it ain't you, then it's the brother or the sister or the mama or the daddy or the cousin or the son or the daughter. There's some dirt everywhere. The devil does not care. He tries to get in any way he can. And sometimes we wonder, why is all this happening? Well, it's because there was a door, an opening. Give no place to the devil. Somebody gave place. And David is the one that gave place. Now, the sad thing about it is when you look at this story, every place where a problem happened, guess who was involved? King David. And I'm going to point that out. He was the one that allowed a lot of this to happen. All right. Now, in the very beginning, what we're going to see is you got Ammon, who's a problem himself, but he's a son of David. And we're going to see what kind of starts this. But the authority that was given to allow it, all of it was asked of David. Can we do? And David gives permission. Now, what's different? What can we pull from that? Just like the individuals that were trying to plot this stuff went to the king to ask the king for permission, King David should have went to his king. God, what is going on? I know that I probably opened up some kind of opportunity, but Lord, am I being deceived? Is the devil behind this? Is there some evil? And we don't see anywhere in here where David does that. And that's one of the things that we should keep in mind. When we know we have done wrong, boy, does our connection to God got to get closer. You got to get closer to God because the enemy is encamped around that incident that you did, waiting to come in. And oftentimes will use your own authority unwittingly to come in. And so let's take a look at this. All right, so it says, and it came to pass after this that Absalom, keep in mind, he's going to be a major person in the story going forward for several chapters. The son of David, he was the son of he was the king's son, had a fair sister. All right, now this sister means that this was what? David's daughter, Absalom's sister. All right, whose name was Tamar. And Ammon, the son of David, loved her. Now here's another son. And somebody says, well, wait a minute, aren't they? Yeah, they're brothers and sisters, but they were what? Half brothers and half sisters. And back in those days, that was considered, things that people did. We don't even consider that today as something that we should do. I could say tongue in cheek unless you live in West Virginia, but I'm not going to say that no more. Let me take that back. But there are things that they did back then that were accepted. So now we got Tamar, who is David's daughter, and then you got Ammon, David's son, and they are half brothers and sisters. And Ammon is in love with Tamar. Be careful when people tell you they love you. Mm-hmm. Be very careful. You got to go to God about, do you really love me? Yes, sir.
Hold on 1 second. Now, Absalom is David's son.
Yep.
And Ammon is David's son.
Yes.
Okay.
By two different women.
Oh, all right.
Remember,
okay.
David's got a whole bunch of wives.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
David got a lot of wives, Wayne.
Yeah, well, you just got to bear with me because, see, when I was I'm put it like this, when I was locked up, I didn't have my Bible.
Right, gotcha.
So all I was doing was just listening.
I hear you.
Now I can see, better. So I'm a little behind, but I get caught up.
All right. I know you will.
Yes, he will.
All right, let's go to verse 2. And Ammon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin, and Ammon thought it hard for him to do anything to her. So he was in love with her, but was like, I don't know. He didn't have, back in the day, he didn't have no game. He didn't have no rap. He didn't have no way of going up and say, hey, how you doing? Maybe me and you should. He didn't have no avenue or no thinking on what he can do with this feeling he had, which he identified as what? Love. But you got to be careful. when a guy says he loves you, guys got all kinds of stuff in them. They got this, they got love in them, but they also got lust. Guys also have pornography. Guys also have deviant things in them sexually. Guys have a lot of junk in them when it comes around the aspect of being with a woman. So and sometimes even the guy doesn't know what he's really feeling. But we're going to see here that what Ammon was feeling was not love in the sense of how God defines the love that a husband should have for a wife. This is not what Ammon had. But let's keep going. All right. So he's sitting around sick. I don't know what to do. All right. Look at verse 3. But Ammon had a friend whose name was Jonadab. Underline Jonadab, because Jonadab is one of those streetwise folks. He kind of knows what's going on. He doesn't have the avenue to achieve the things that he would like to achieve because he's not the son of a king. He's a nephew. All right? And the nephew he's not going to get that, and he knows he's not going to get to be king. But look what happens. Jonadab, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother. All right, so this is David's what? Nephew. And Jonadab was a very subtle man. Like I said, he was streetwise. He knows how to get things done. He had a great imagination. And look at verse 4. And he said unto him, why thou, being the king's son? He recognized, dude, you're the king's son. Can you imagine what I could do if I was the king's son? So he says, why are you the king's son lean from day to day? You're not eating, you're not going out, you don't look well. Wilt thou not tell me? Tell me what's going on. And Ammon said unto him, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. All right, so now he's in love with this woman. All right, and he don't know what to do. He don't know how to handle it. And keep in mind, this is what he identifies this feeling as. This feeling he feels, he thinks is love. In reality, it's a pornography. It's a lust that he has, but it's not love, and he's not identifying it properly. And it did not come from God. Where did this come from? An opportunity for the enemy to enter in and put a feeling on you that is not good. And what we need to do is pray and ask God to remove the feeling or identify it properly. Right? Because a lot of times we get these feelings about certain things, and it's not from God, and it's not true. Right. It's a false feeling that we believe in, and we act on false feelings. Mm-hmm. All right, but let's keep going. Verse 5. And Jonadab, David's nephew, this very wife. See, this is all in the family. Mm-hmm. Okay. Jonadab said unto him, lay thee down on thy bed and make thyself sick. And when thy father comes to see thee, who's his father? David. So Jonadab is getting David what? Involved. This is what you're going to tell David. All right. When your father comes to see you, say unto him, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar come and give me meat and dress the meat in my sight. Don't cook it in the kitchen. Cook it in front of me. See, Jonadab is slick. Don't bring me something you cooked at home. Cook it right in front of me, so I can watch you cooking. I can watch you move and spin around. And Jonadab is putting the plan together, that I might see it and eat at her hand. All right. So this is the plan that Jonadab, David's nephew, proposes to Amnon, David's son, involving Tamar, David's daughter. Verse 6. So Ammon laid and made himself sick, and when the king was come in, David is in Ammon's presence. And look what and Ammon said unto the king, I pray thee, let Tamar thy sister come and make me a couple of cakes in my sight, that I may eat at her hand. He's telling this to the king. David should be aware. We got to have a spiritual discernment. Something's up. And he does none of this. Verse 7. Then David went home to Tamar, saying, go now to thy brother. Who sent Tamar to Ammon? David. David told her to go in there. Right? And this is once again an opportunity for the enemy to creep in.
So David really knew what was really going down.
No, he did not know.
He did not know.
He did not know.
From his experience and doing his stuff that he did back in his days.
That's right. He should have known, but he didn't. He gave the sense of my children would not be like who I am. Well, what do you think your children came from? They came from you. The same deception that you did and killing Uriah, that same deception is in you, it's in your children, it's even in your nephew. And David, he just goes blind about it. Yes, sir.
Didn't God say something to him about his children? That something about his children because he had done certain things that his children.
He said the sword would never leave his family, and this is the sword being swung. All right, and so the sword, the spiritual sword, is being swung. Just like, now, think not that this doesn't happen in our families. Right. There's stuff going on in our families that people open a door for the enemy to, and that's why the Bible lets us know that we have to get rid of a lot of these curses and generational things. Why does, one family member is like this, and then here come the next generation and another family member is like, and you got to recognize, look for stuff that you know that you got problems with in your children, your nieces, your nephews, and see if you can identify, and then pray against it. Go to God. Yes, sir.
That is very true, brother, because in my family, alcoholism was very bad. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying, I will not allow it to come into mine. I will break it. Mm-hmm. I will stop it. I'm not going to do it myself anymore. Mm-hmm. So I stopped it. Yeah. Now, if my children choose to do it, it's not because they see me doing it. Right. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm going to break this curse. And I always pray against it because I know that it exists in my family.
Yeah. And that's the thing that we got to do, identify. And David did not identify that there's a problem going on. David lusted for Bathsheba. Now, Ammon is lusting for Tamar. It's the same spirit. And he's still there. It's the same devil. All right. All right. And so verse 7 again, as we see, David sent home to Tamar, saying, now go to thy brother Ammon's house. He sent her there and dress him meat. Verse 8, so Tamar went to her brother Ammon's house, and he was laid down, and she took flour and kneaded it and made cakes in his sight and did bake the cakes. All right, so now she's in there doing all this work, cooking it in front of him, and he's sitting there just looking at her, just lusting. He's got his little mind going on, like what I'm gonna do to her. Or he ain't worried about the food. He ain't looking at the flour. He's looking at her. And let me tell you something about the eyes of a man. The Bible says the eyes of man is never satisfied. If you think a man is ever going to be stop looking at women and have thoughts, you're deceived. Men think this way. And as a man, I can tell you, you got to rebuke that. You have to resist that. You got to fight against it. It's a daily fight. Every day. It won't get solved until you go to heaven. This is just something. And all the way back when sin first happened, and God told Eve that she was going to bear children in pain, and he said, and the desire I will put where? Into thy husband. So that in the very beginning, women will have the struggle of, I'm always going to bear children in pain. And guys are always going to have to struggle. I'm always going to look at a woman and have desire. Well, what do? Both of them, you got to go to God. And you got to make sure, you got to find some kind of connection. A lot of times, I'll speak personally, when I feel this come, my thing is, when you feel it, find somebody to pray for. And then when that pops up in my mind, I think of who can I pray for? And, I start praying for my grandchildren or my children or somebody at my job. Because I recognize, okay, anytime that trigger gets pulled in my mind, I know it's not from God, so it's coming from somewhere else. So I'm going to use that trigger to go to God. God bless my nieces. God bless my grandson. God, I try. Now, am I perfect with it? Sometimes you get lost. Sometimes you get off, But you got to you got to put on a fight. You just can't stand there and just get punched by the devil and don't fight back. And what's happening here? David is getting beat up and he doesn't even know it. You got to identify the fact that, yes, you think the enemy can't touch you. You are deceiving yourself. He will bring thoughts and feelings to you, and it's your desire to identify them. Yes.
Just a question. At this point in David's life and the whole situation with Bathsheba, and he had Uriah killed, and he knows that the Lord knows, do he feels that he's forgiven and that's why he's blindsided?
It could be. It could be.
Because then now he's not looking, he's like, God has forgiven me.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that, and spiritually, yes, God has forgiven you, but naturally, you reap what you sow.
Right.
And so, therefore, he doesn't let his guard down. Mm-hmm. I'm forgiven.
I'm moving on.
Yeah. So then when that same like spirit has risen up in his sons, he's not recognizing it.
He's not recognizing it. No.
So
no, and that's the thing. You got to know that the devil don't play fair. It was in you, but I'll take this. I got a ticket and a token to go into your family. Why? Because you give an opportunity.
But this is the thing. Like the devil will lull you to sleep.
Yep.
And make you naive of what is in your future. In your future.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that's how he gets you off guard.
Exactly. He can definitely get you off guard in that sense, because you think, okay, me and God are good. Mm-hmm. But you still got to fight. And now before you think, well, I didn't have to fight this particular fight. Well, because you opened that door. Now you got to fight that fight for the rest of your life. Your natural life. You got to continue to guard. You got to become a watchman on the wall for this particular thing. If I like Haywood said, if I got alcoholism in my family, I'm gonna be a watchman for alcoholism. If I got lust in my family, I'm gonna be a watchman for lust. I gotta look for this stuff in my. If I'm a liar and deceive people, I gotta look for lying in my. If I'm a thief or anger or got hatred and stuff. If I had that in my life, I got to look for it in the lives of my family. And some of us got 4 or 5 things we got to watch for. Right? Because our families have been so integrated with all this corruption. But that's why we should pray always. That's why we always have to be on our guard. We always got to be seeking God. Our jobs are never done. And we got all day long. When you got 24 hours in a day, every day that you are awake, you should be seeking God, watching and looking. It's a real battle because we got real enemies. Yes, sir.
And that's why sometimes, brothers, I wake up in the middle of the night and I say, well, why am I praying? Mm-hmm. The Bible said man should always pray and not faint.
Exactly.
We constantly got to pray against all this stuff because a lot of stuff came into our families naturally, like horseshoes over the door, good luck, rabbit's foot.
Yep.
Now, if the rabbit foot is so good luck to you, then why did he lose it?
Exactly. Exactly.
So there's a lot of stuff that we have to be reprogrammed by the blood of the Lamb.
That's right. And that's why getting into the Spirit of God and in the Word of God is so important, because we need it. There's no such thing as, well, I'm strong enough. No. You got to always have the discernment to know that you need God, because this stuff that comes in, you can't defeat it by yourself. You're going to need God. All right. But you need to have the mindset to go to God. David, when he gets this request from Ammon, he don't go to God. He don't recognize, well, he's asking for her to come in. He doesn't allow his imagination to think of what could he be doing. With this, is something like this that I would do? Yeah, David, you did it. It's very similar. Let's look at what happens. All right. So in verse 8, we see he's out there making the stuff, and she's watching, and she's making it in his sight, and he's just looking at her. Verse 9, and she took the pan and poured them out before him, but he refused to eat. See, he's not interested in the food. The food is just a disguise. It's just a ruse. All right. And Ammon said, have out all men from me. And they went out, every man from him. All right. So now he's what? I'm going to get into a place where I'm private. But I'm not going to let nobody know. But everybody knows what's going on. You know who also knows? Jonadab, because he was the one that helped him what? Plan this. Right? And of course, God knows. Let's keep going. Verse 10. And Ammon said unto Tamar, bring the meat into the chamber. So I'm not going to eat in the kitchen or the study or the dining room. Bring it into my bed. That's what the word chamber means.
I like my new version. It says into the bedroom.
Into the bedroom. Exactly.
New King James say in the bedroom.
Into the bedroom. Exactly. That's what the chamber means. That I may eat of thy hand. I want you to feed me. But he don't want her feeding him food. He wants to eat something else. Right? All right. And Tamar took the cakes which she had made and brought them into the chamber to Ammon, her brother. Now, Tamar, what does she know? Not sure. Maybe is she attracted to Ammon? We don't know. The Bible gives us none of that. But all she knows is I was told by the king to do this. I was told by David. I was told by
not only the king,
but my father. Exactly. I was told by my father, the king, to do this. Verse 11. And when she had brought them unto him, he took hold of her and said unto her, come, lie with me, my sister. He wasn't grabbing the food. He grabbed her. See, this is the thing with guys, and so, boy, I can speak on that. There's a lot. We'll get to talk some more about that when we get into the Songs of Solomon. But let's keep going. Let's deal with Tamar and Ammon here. Look at verse 12. And she answered him. Now she speaks up. She now knows, oh, I see what's happening. Her eyes open up once he, pulls the trigger on his actions, true actions. And now she sees what's going on. All right. But now look at what first thing she's going to see is like, oh, he's interested in me. I know how to respond to that. Look what she says. And she answered him, nay. So first thing she said, this is not right. Don't do this. Nay, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. Do not thou as this folly. So don't do this foolish thing. This should not be done in Israel. In other words, that should not be done in the sight of God. All right, because Israel means governed by God. Governed by God. All right, so verse 13. And look what Tamar continues to say. And now she's going to say, I can handle this. I can make this right if you let me. Right? And I, whither shall I cause my shame to go? And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Now, therefore, here's her plan. I pray thee, speak unto the king, for he will not withhold me from thee. All right. So she's like, you're going to make me a problem and you're going to become a fool if you do this, but we could make it all right. Just go to the king. And that's a beautiful metaphor once again, because going to the king speaks of going to what? The authority. What's the ultimate authority? Who's the ultimate king? God. All right. But Ammon's not going to go to the king, because Ammon's not going to go to any higher authority. And that's something that we should keep in mind. Are we going to higher authorities when we deal with problems? All right. Verse 14. Howbeit he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than she, forced her and lay with her. So now he rapes her. All right. Verse 15. Then Ammon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred within he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her. And Ammon said unto her, arise, be gone.
Because he never did love her.
All right. So it was never love. Mm-hmm. It was always lust. It was always a sense of what we see. It was a pornography style type of feeling. And pornography, once it has been satisfied, doesn't want what satisfied it.
You don't want commitment.
There's no commitment. Mm-hmm. There's no other feelings. It's a standalone feelings, a standalone lust, nothing connected to it. All right. A husband will desire his wife, but also will protect, console, hold, respect, honor. All that's a full a recipe. Ammon is sitting out there with just one ingredient. I just want what I want, and now that I got it, I don't need her anymore. And told her to get out, be gone. Verse 16. And she said unto him, there is no cause this evil in sending me out way greater than the other that thou didst. Now she's letting him know, okay, you did wrong. This is still, we can still fix this. She's still saying we can still make this work. And look what he said, but she said, if you send me away, it's even worse. So you can see how when you do sin, there are opportunities to fix the sin. All right, I can fix it here. I can fix it here. Like David, when he called for Bathsheba and got her pregnant, he could have fixed it. He could have confessed. Then, no, I'm not going to confess. I'm going to commit murder. That's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to fix it. And when we try to fix our own sin, guess what happened? It just gets worse. And so, and she said unto him, there is no cause. This evil in sending me away is greater than the other that thou didst unto me. You're going to fix one problem with another problem? But he would not hearken unto her. Verse 17, then he called the servants that ministered unto him and said, put now this woman out from me.
So now he knows that they know.
Yeah. The servants now know too. Mm-hmm. The servants know.
And he doesn't care.
And he doesn't care.
That's just the characteristics of Satan.
Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. He put you in that situation.
Put you in the situation, use you.
And then
don't care how people review you.
Now you know the conversation is going on. Folks know what's happening. Mm-hmm. And not only put her out, and bolt the door after her. I don't want her coming back.
Sure, she ain't coming back in there.
She ain't coming back. I don't want to hear her conversation no more.
He didn't lock the door. He bolted the door. He put the deadbolt on.
Right. Verse 18. And she had a garment of divers colors upon her, for with such robes were the king's daughters that were virgins apparelled. Then the servants brought her out and bolted the door after her. 19. And Tamar put ashes on her head. What does that represent? She feels like she is now completely dirty, unworthy. All right. No one will want me. And rented her clothes. Why? Because I'm broken. I'm not put together. I'm ripped apart. My spirit is ripped. This is how she felt. I feel dirty and ripped up. You know, and sin will do that to you.
Yes.
And sadly, a lot of women have to go through life that were molested and abused, you know, as young girls and teenagers, and they got to go through life with this ashes of dirt feeling and this ripped up feeling, and still try to form a life for themselves in spite of that. And it's a shame that our society is full of stuff like this, where women are abused very much exactly how Ammon did to Tamar. And they still got to try to go and have a life. And it's difficult a lot of times to see. All right, so she put on her, she rent her garment of divers colors that was upon her, and lay her hand on her head and went on crying. In the spirit, in the natural, they're crying, she's crying. But a lot of times when women go through this, they cry all the time in their spirit. They're emotional. And you need a miracle, a lot of times, these women, to get over this. You need God to intervene to be able
and we need women like that to go to a Christian psychologist, and not saying that they're crazy, but they need the help. There's so many women that been through this terrible stuff, and a lot of times they don't know where to go, you know, and they can't go to God. But God also put people on this planet, I believe, to help people like that, like psychiatrists and stuff, to help them get through this, because it is tremendous pain for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to find some way to connect to God directly or through somebody else, like you said, through people that know this from a professional standpoint. But the bottom line is you got to connect spiritually to God to be able to identify this as being real. But that God doesn't see you as dirt, and your relationship with God is not ripped. God sees you as someone that can actually become a blessing, not just in your own life, but into the lives of others, where you can now become a watcher. I can look for this, right? And God can then use you. God always uses what the devil does in a way that will ultimately make you stronger to resist the devil down the road.
And men, don't think that you haven't been through it, because there are men that I talk to.
Yeah.
This have happened to them.
Yes, definitely. You got men that can speak on this too. That not every babysitter you come to watch a little boy is
Amen.
just to see his safety. So yes, that does happen as well. Verse 20. And Absalom, her brother, said unto her, hath Ammon thy brother been with thee? Now Absalom, when he saw what happened, he's like, he put two and two together real quick. Right? David's children are not idiots. They are brilliant people. And his family has a lot of very smart folks in it. But how is your intelligence being used? Is it being used by God or by the culture of this world and by the devil? So Ammon puts two and two together. He says, "Has your brother be with you?" And he goes on, "But hold now thy peace. Don't continue to weep and cry. Go on and go on about your business. Hold your peace, my sister. He is thy brother. Regard not this thing. Don't let this thing bother you," is what he's saying. And he said, so Tamar remained desolate in her brother's Absalom's house. So she went to go live with her brother. All right. Now, look at verse 21. But when King David heard of all these things, he was very wroth. So now David knows. So the whole family knows what's happened. What did David do? David got mad. Plus, David recognized, man, I was involved in this. Ammon tricked me and used me. He was mad. Okay. So did he have a family meeting? Did he call folks together? Nope. This is all we see. Verse 21, that's all we see that David did. I was mad. I'm mad. But what you going to do about it? All right. But guess what? Absalom's going to do something about it. Verse 22. And Absalom spake unto his brother Ammon, neither good nor bad. In other words, he's like, I'm not going to let my hand show. But I got some plans for you, my half brother. I got some plans for you. But he said, I'm not going to show you any good nor bad. I'm going to keep things neutral. For Absalom hated Amnon because he had forced his sister Tamar. I hate you, basically, is what he's trying to hide. I don't want to give away, but I got plans for you. All right? Because now, what is Absalom? Absalom now has been given something not from God, from the enemy. Amnon had lust that was just pure pornography. Now, what does Absalom have? I got vengeance. I got judgment that need to happen, but the judgment isn't justice. The judgment is what? Hatred. Yes, Absalom knows something needs to be done. We gotta find some justice about this. But the only justice he got that he's really to display is hatred. All right. For Absalom hated Ammon because he had forced his sister. 23. And it came to pass after 2 full years. Boy, he's patient. The devil can wait. All right. After 2 full years, Absalom had sheep shearers. He's looking for an opportunity. Sheep shearing time. It's a good time to get people together. And I now can use the sheep shearing time as a time to start planning my vengeance on my half brother who I hate. All right. So he got the sheep shearing time and Beelzor, which is beside Ephraim. And Absalom invited all the king's son. He's got a plan. 24. And Absalom came to the king. Who's the king?
David.
So Absalom's got his plan, but guess who's he's using in his plan? The king again. So this thing that's about to happen, where Absalom's going to execute his plan on Amnon, he's also involved in David. So in this situation, David had opportunity to seek God, the ultimate king. What's really happening? God, open my vision. The lack of spiritual discernment is showing forth here. All right, that David doesn't see that the devil can be in his children. He's not accepting that. Now he know Ammon, okay, but Absalom, this was really David's favorite son. Let's look at what happened. And Amnon came to David and said, behold, now the servants have sheep shearing. Let the king, I beseech thee, and the servants go with thy servants. And the king said to Absalom, nay. Now, David already recognized this ain't a good idea. He's like, this ain't a good idea. So you would think maybe he would be like, okay, well, what's really going on here? But he didn't. He just said, no, let me give you some better advice. And the king said to Absalom, my son, let us not all now go, lest we be chargeable unto thee. He's like, it's going to cost you too much money. This is too expensive. Why waste all this money on doing this? Let's do the sheep shearing. We're going to get the profit. Let's don't spend all the profit at this gathering. All right? But look what happens. And he pressed him. Howbeit he would not go. So Absalom kept pressing David, the king, his father. Let me do this. Let me do it. But David's like, I'm not going down there. It's just too much. Verse 26. Then said Absalom, if not, I pray thee, let my brother Ammon go with us. And the king said unto him, why shouldeth he go with thee? See, David already is like, something's up here. But he's not acting spiritually on it.
He's not going to God about it.
He's not going to God about it. When something is not right in your spirit, that should be a major trigger to pray. God, what's happening here? Show me. Don't let me be deceived, Lord. Don't let me be blindsided here. But David, he feels like all his suggestions don't fit. And he's giving him advice, but not after going to God. 27. But Absalom pressed him. Absalom, you got some strong-willed children, you know, and you need to pray. God help them. God, give them insight. Because there's nothing wrong with being strong-willed. But whose will are you being strong with? The will of God, or the will of this culture, or your own will, or the will of the devil? If it ain't God's will, any of those other three wills are not good. All right? And Absalom pressed him that he let Ammon and all the king's sons go with him. 28. Now Absalom had commanded the servants, saying, mark ye now when Amnon's heart is merry with wine, and when he say unto you, when I say unto you, smite Ammon, then kill him. Fear not, have not I command you, be courage and be valiant. All right? Be courageous and valiant. So now, Absalom, very strong will. He's going to get done what he wanted to get done. He pressed the king. The king says, okay, do what you got to do. If you want to do all this after the sheep shearing and spend all this money for a party that, I don't see no profit in, you go ahead and do it. But the king said, but I'm not going. Now, if you ain't going to go down, don't you want to know, well, why should I send all of my children down there? All right, but David's not, he's not what? Seeking God, as Miss Penny said. 29. Then the servants of Absalom did unto Ammon as Absalom had commanded. When all the king's sons arose, and every man gat him upon his mule and fled. So what happened? Absalom had the sheep shearing party. When Amnon was merry with wine, the servants who Absalom instructed to kill Amnon did it. And Amnon is now dead. And all the other children, keep in mind, they've been drinking too. You remember, they were all there celebrating. And now they see this happening, and what do? They stagger out, they hop on their mule, drinking while driving, and they getting out. They running. All right, because Absalom is murdering folks. And they're all running. 30. And it came to pass while they were in the way that tidings came to David. You see, tidings came to David before the actual facts. And boy, where do lies come from? From the devil. And so right away, the devil is going to make David think even greater than what it really is. Now, it's still bad. All your children died, or one of your children died. You don't want to hear any of that news. But the devil made sure that tidings got to David, and it was what? Incorrect tidings. Be careful when things are whispered in your ear, especially about family stuff, because a lot of times, who's behind it? It may be the spiritual evil stuff behind it. We should be surprised how the devil can whisper in our ear about our wife, about our husband, about our children, about all of the individuals, our father, our mother, our cousins. The devil would like to whisper into your ear about certain things, and a lot of times we believe it. We accept it rather than going to God and say, well, God, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try it again. Now, if you got evidence, okay, so-and-so's a liar, and he lied to you once, lied to you twice. Okay, now you got evidence. It ain't a whisper. It ain't a tiding. You got truth. And that's an important thing. Right, let's keep going. Tidings came to David, saying, Absalom have slain all the king's sons, and there is not one of them left. Now David's hearing this news, and boy, I bet you David's thinking now, this is the sword that God spoke about. That's still in my family. 31. Then the king arose and tear his garments. Now, who tore the garments first? It was Tamar. And now David's tearing his garments. And you think David might see the connection? We can see the connection reading it. We see it here in the Word of God, and the Spirit of God points this out very obviously. All right. But the tearing, feeling ripped apart. Okay. Now David is feeling like how Tamar felt, ripped apart. And he tore his garments and lay on the earth. Doing what? Weeping and crying. What was Tamar doing? She tore her garments, had that ash on her head, feeling dirty, and put her hands in her face in her hands and cried. Now David's doing the exact same thing. All right. And all the servants stood by with their clothes rent, and everybody else was there, renting their clothes. All right. Now remember the guy that gave the advice to Amnon? He's there. This guy, he's slick, boy. Let me tell you. Look at 32. So Jonadab, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, answered and said, he's his nephew, let not thy Lord suppose that they have slain all the young men of the king's sons, for Amnon only is dead. For by the appointment of Absalom, this hath been determined from the day he forced his sister Tamar. All right, so Absalom is like,
he's laying it all out.
I'm gonna kill him. I just got to find opportunity. And when a sheep shearing time came, the plot was now put in place. I got this now. This guy's gonna die. Yes.
But I mean, David should have just recognized his nephew laid the whole thing out from the beginning. From the beginning, from when Tamar, he knew the whole story.
Yep. Yeah. Jonadab. David's brother's son, Jonadab. He's involved in all of this, and now the guy that started all this is now telling David, "No, let me give you the facts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They ain't all dead.
They ain't all dead.
And this was all because Absalom killing Ammon, which he had planned to do for the whole. So Jonadab is streetwise. He knows what's going on. He's the kind of guy that's walking around, listening in the walls, checking out people, picking up people's phones when they ain't around, scrolling through and seeing who they talking. Jonadab is streetwise and able to get things. And so he now gives David the full answer. Right? Verse 30. Now, therefore, let not my lord the king, my lord the king. Who is Jonadab's lord? His own belly. He know he can't become king, but man, he's trying to find his way to get into every kind of way he can. Let not the Lord thy king take this thing to heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead, for Ammon only is dead. Verse 34. But Absalom fled. So now Absalom is running. He's like, I can't go back to the king because now the king knows that I killed his son. One son killed the other son. I can't go back to the king. Right? And the young man that kept the watch lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there came much people by the way of the hillside behind him. All right, and verse 35, and Jonadab said unto the king, behold, the king's sons come, as thy servant said, so it is. Look what you see. You can always trust me, king, because the things I say are really true. Be careful who you bring in to your role of advisor, confidant, the person you're going to share all your stuff with, somebody that's going to give you advice, somebody that's going to try to comfort you. All right? And so Jonadab was like, yeah, everything I said is just like how it is. All right? So don't feel so bad. How he's not going to feel so bad? Whether all the kings are dead, all the sons are dead, or just one son. There's no sense of, well, now I feel happy. You're still sad because one of the sons is dead. And you're also sad because the reason why that son is dead is because another one of your sons killed him. There's no happy day here. It's a bad day no matter how you look at it. Verse 36. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of speaking, that behold, the king's sons came and lifted up their voices and wept. And the king also and all his servants wept very sore. All right, so they all came in. Oh, you should have been there. It was horrible. Absalom had Amnon killed, and we all just started running, and and we're trying to understand what's going on because we were all heavy with wine and drinking because of the sheep shearing celebration that Absalom put together, and Absalom is fled and ran. Okay, well, where did he go? Let's keep looking. 37. And Absalom fled and went to Talmai, the son of Amidhud, king of Geshur. Now, this is where his mom is from. If you do a little digging down, I won't go through all of that now. But he went back to where his mom grew up. Remember, David married foreign women. All right? And this is where one of David's wives was from, an area that was very well known for having beautiful women. And keep in mind, Absalom was a good-looking man. Tamar was a beautiful woman because they came from an area that had good-looking folks. Right? And be careful. Your beauty can be a blessing and a curse. Whatever God blesses you with, beauty, wealth. Some people are born in wealthy families. That can be a blessing and that can be a curse. Some people, politics. Some people are born into political families. That could be a blessing. It could be a curse. In this particular situation, Tamar's beauty turned out to work against her because of what Ammon did. And you got to be very careful. Just like you got to be careful if you have a lot of money, what you do. If you're beautiful, you got to be careful what you do because people will come to you for ulterior motives. You got money, people come to you for ulterior motives. You got political power, people will come to you for ulterior motives. Right? Why? Because you got something that is attractive to them. Money, power, beauty, strength, whatever it is. You're going to always have people coming to you for things other than what they say. 38. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur and was there 3 years. All right, so letting you know, for 3 years he was there. Look at 39. This is interesting. And the soul of David longed to go forth unto Absalom. David missed his son. I want to go see him. For he was comforted concerning Amnon, seeing he was dead. So after 3 years, he recognized, okay, Amnon's dead. Nothing I can do. But maybe I can fix or correct the problem with my son Absalom. So he longed to go be with him. And that's how that this chapter ends. So you know there's what? More to the story. And if the Lord say the same, next week we'll pick up some more of this story. This is a long TV series, if you want to. There's going to be many episodes here with the life of David.
It almost seems as that towards the end there that David kind of like was okay with what Absalom did, because it's like Amnon deserved that, because he knew the story about Amnon and Tamar. So, and that's why his heart is probably trying to reach out to Absalom.
Yeah, I know why you did it.
Come in, let me console you. Right. You had a reason to do it.
Right.
But either way, every episode was a sin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's a good point that Miss Penny brings out, that David might have been looking at. Amnon he asked for this. Amnon sinned. He deserved what he got. He kind of got what he deserved. And Absalom was this sword that was used, and I get it. I see why you did it, but let's come together and talk about it. But still, he's kind of hesitant. All right, and we'll see though how this gets rectified, because it will. They're going to come together, and we're going to see what happens. But we got to wait for our next episodes before we get to that. All right. Any other comments or questions on what we talked about today?